What's up, everyone? So I just spent the last 3 weeks doing something absolutely insane. I verified every single piece of data, cross-referenced multiple sources, and ran the numbers on one of the most heated debates in the dividend investing community. Individual dividend stocks versus dividend ETFs. Which one actually makes you more money? And I've got to tell you, what I found completely shocked me. The answer isn't what you think. And by the end of this video, your entire perspective on dividend investing might change forever. Quick favor, hit like and subscribe right now so YouTube shows this to more people who need to see it. Let me set the stage here. The dividend investing world is basically split into two camps. On one side, you've got the stock pickers. These are the folks hand-selecting companies like Kinder Morgan, Coca-Cola, Altria, building portfolios of 10 to 20 individual dividend-paying stocks. They swear by this approach. Then on the other side, you've got the ETF investors, putting their money into funds like SCHD, VYM, SPYD. They want simplicity, diversification, and they're perfectly happy accepting market returns. Both sides are absolutely convinced they're right. So I decided to settle this once and for all with verified data from Stock Analysis, Total Real Returns, S&P Dow Jones Indices, and Company Investor Relations Departments. No guessing, no opinions, just cold hard facts. Now let's talk about 2024, because this is where things get absolutely wild. Individual dividend stocks absolutely crushed it last year. I'm talking about returns that make your jaw drop. Kinder Morgan, the energy infrastructure company, delivered a 64.4% total return. 64.4%. Entergy, the utility company, came in at 55.9%. Kellanov posted 49.8%. Oniok hit 48.6%. These weren't small speculative companies. These were established dividend payers with real business moats. When you average the top 8 individual dividend stock performers from 2024, the result was a 41.1% total return. 41.1% in a single year. Now here's where it gets interesting. Meanwhile, the beloved SCHD, which is probably the most popular dividend ETF with almost $70 billion in assets, returned 11.66% in 2024. SPYD came in at 15.34%. VYM delivered 12.85%. Now these aren't terrible returns, don't get me wrong. Double-digit gains are nothing to complain about. But when you compare them to that 41.1% average from individual stocks, there's a gap of almost 30 percentage points. That's massive. Let me make this real for you. Imagine you had $10,000 to invest at the start of 2024. If you put it into Kinder Morgan, you'd have $16,440 by the end of the year. That's a profit of $6,440. The average of the top 8 stocks would have turned your 10 grand into $14,110, a $4,110 profit. But if you went with SCHD, your $10,000 would have grown to $11,166, a profit of $1,166. That's a $5,274 difference between the best individual stock and SCHD. That's real money we're talking about. So case closed, right? Individual stocks absolutely destroyed ETFs in 2024. Stock pickers win, ETF investors lose, everyone go home. Well, not so fast. Because when I started digging into the long-term data, everything changed. And this is where the story gets really interesting. Let's zoom out and look at the 10-year performance, because this is where the truth really lives. SCHD has delivered an average annual return of 12.24% since 2011. That means if you invested $10,000 and just left it alone for 10 years, it would have grown to $31,730. VYM, despite having a lower return of 8.96% annually, still turned $10,000 into $23,587. The S&P 500 itself returned 13% annualized, growing 10 grand to $33,946. These are rock-solid returns that compound beautifully over time. But here's where my mind was absolutely blown. The Dividend Aristocrats Index, which only includes companies that have increased dividends for 25 consecutive years, achieved a 10.23% annualized return over 20 years. That's almost identical to the S&P 500's 10.2%. But get this, it did it with significantly lower volatility. Lower volatility means you're getting similar returns with less stomach-churning drops along the way. During down months, the dividend aristocrats outperformed the S&P 500 66.67% of the time. Think about that. When the market was falling, dividend stocks protected you 2/3 of the time. Now here's the historical context that absolutely nobody talks about. Over the last 95 years, from 1926 to 2025, dividends have contributed an average of 31% of the S&P 500's total return. But during certain decades, dividends were everything. In the 2000s, after the tech crash devastated the market, dividends accounted for 68% of total returns. 68%! Capital appreciation was basically dead. If you didn't have dividend-paying stocks during that decade, you got absolutely destroyed. During the 1940s and 1970s, dividends made up over 50% of returns. This historical pattern shows us something crucial. When markets crash or stagnate, dividends become your lifeline. Now let's talk about something that keeps me up at night, and it should keep you up at night too. Concentration risk. This is where individual stock investing gets genuinely dangerous. When you build a portfolio of 8 to 20 individual stocks, each position might represent 5 to 15% of your total portfolio. If one company cuts its dividend or the stock price collapses, the damage is catastrophic. And this isn't theoretical. This has happened over and over again. Let me give you some real examples that hurt real people. General Electric was once a dividend aristocrat, a company beloved by income investors everywhere. In 2018, they slashed their dividend from 96 cents annually down to 4 cents. That's a 96% cut. Imagine having 15% of your portfolio in GE thinking you had a safe, reliable dividend stock. Your income would have been obliterated overnight. AT&T, the massive telecom company, cut its dividend by almost 50% in 2022. Occidental Petroleum suspended dividends entirely during energy downturns. These weren't small, unknown companies. These were giants that investors trusted for decades. Now contrast this with dividend ETFs. SCHD holds 103 individual positions. The largest holding, which is Amgen, represents just 4.83% of the fund. VYM provides even broader diversification, with 569 holdings, where no single position exceeds 2 to 3% of assets. If one company in an ETF implodes, you barely even notice it. The ETF automatically rebalances, removes failing companies, and replaces them with stronger ones. You don't have to do anything. You don't even have to be awake. The 2020 pandemic provided a perfect real-world test of this. Energy companies that had paid dividends for decades faced catastrophic challenges. ExxonMobil cut its dividend for the first time in 39 years. Royal Dutch Shell cut dividends for the first time since World War II. If you had concentrated positions in these companies thinking they were bulletproof, you learned a very painful lesson. ETF investors just kept collecting their diversified dividends and moved on with their lives. Now, I want to be completely fair here because there is one area where individual stocks have a genuine, undeniable advantage, and that's taxes. When you own individual stocks, you have complete control over when you realize capital gains. You can hold positions for 30 years, 40 years, forever. If you never sell during your lifetime, you can pass these assets to your heirs with a stepped-up cost basis, potentially eliminating capital gains taxes entirely. For high-net-worth individuals in elevated tax brackets, this is a massive benefit. A $500,000 portfolio of individual stocks held for decades could generate substantial unrealized gains that you might never pay taxes on if you plan it right. ETFs, while significantly more tax efficient than actively managed mutual funds, still distribute capital gains that you can't control. However, and this is important, SCHD and VYM distribute minimal capital gains, typically keeping annual distributions below 1% of assets. In 2022, despite the S&P 500 declining 18.1%, more than 42% of active mutual funds distributed capital gains, averaging 5% of net asset value. SCHD and VYM. Basically nothing. But here's the critical nuance. Qualified dividend income receives identical favorable tax treatment, whether it comes from individual stocks or ETFs. The real tax advantage only emerges in managing capital gains over time. And if you're investing in tax-deferred accounts like IRAs or 401ks, this entire tax advantage completely disappears because all growth occurs tax-free, regardless of structure. Now let's talk about dividend strategy, because this is absolutely crucial. There's a fundamental split in the dividend investing world between high-yield strategies and dividend growth strategies. High-yield strategies focus on companies currently offering above-average income, often 5 to 10% yields. Companies like Altria, with a 7.22% yield, or Realty Income, with 5.67%. The income is attractive right now, but these companies often have limited ability to grow dividends meaningfully. They're mature businesses, returning most profits to shareholders. Dividend growth strategies prioritize companies with lower current yields, maybe 2 to 4%, but consistent track records of increasing dividends annually. Companies like Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, Johnson & Johnson, these companies have increased dividends for 50+ years. And here's the math that blows people's minds. A stock with a 2.5% initial yield growing dividends at 8% annually will surpass the income from a 5% yielder with no growth in approximately 9 years. And the gap just keeps widening forever after that. Historical evidence strongly favors dividend growth. From May 2005 to December 2024, the Dividend Aristocrats Index provided greater total returns than high-yield dividend indexes across virtually all interest rate environments. SCHD, which follows a dividend growth strategy, has delivered 12.24% annualized returns over 10 years. SPYD, which focuses on high current yield, has returned just 8.52% annualized since inception. That gap compounds to massive differences over decades. So here's the verdict after analyzing all this data. For 80 to 90% of investors watching this video right now, dividend ETFs are the superior choice, period. SCHD delivered 12.24% annually for a decade with lower volatility than the S&P 500. You get instant diversification across 100+ companies, systematic quality screening, minimal costs of just 0.06 to 0.07%, automatic dividend reinvestment, and elimination of behavioral biases. You don't need to be a genius stock picker. You don't need to spend hours analyzing financial statements. You just buy SCHD or VYM and let time do the work. For experienced investors with portfolios over $500,000 and genuine industry expertise, a hybrid approach makes sense. Allocate 60 to 80% to ETFs like SCHD for stability and diversification. Use the remaining 20 to 40% for carefully selected individual stocks where you have high conviction. This captures the stability of diversified ETFs while allowing concentrated bets on your best ideas. But you need discipline and strict sell rules when your thesis breaks down. For novice investors, and I'm being completely honest here, the 2024 data is a trap. It's incredibly seductive. It creates an illusion that past winners predict future performance. But survivorship bias hides all the dividend stocks that disappointed in 2024. The harsh reality is that most individual investors underperform low-cost ETFs over time, primarily due to poor stock selection, mistimed trades, and psychological biases. The energy and midstream sectors that dominated 2024 benefited from specific market conditions that may not repeat. Different sectors will dominate 2025 and beyond, and predicting which stocks will be winners is extraordinarily difficult even for professionals. Here's the shocking conclusion that I promised you at the beginning. Individual dividend stocks absolutely crushed ETFs in 2024. That's undeniable, 41.1% versus 11.66%. But that single year was an anomaly, not a reliable pattern. When you zoom out to 10 years, 20 years, even 95 years of data, the case for ETFs becomes overwhelming for most investors. The benefits of diversification, automatic rebalancing, lower fees, tax efficiency, and elimination of behavioral mistakes compound dramatically over decades. The truly shocking result isn't that individual stocks can outperform. They clearly can, as 2024 proved. The shocking result is that accepting market returns through low-cost ETFs beats trying to outperform the market for the vast majority of investors. The data supports this conclusion overwhelmingly. In 2024, individual stocks won the battle. Over decades, ETFs win the war. The choice is yours, but now you know what the real data says. Drop a comment below telling me which camp you're in and why. And if this video changed your perspective on dividend investing, hit that like and subscribe button. Let's keep this conversation going. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. Investment performance shown is based on historical data and projections. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Always conduct your own research and consult with a qualified financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Thanks for watching.